Broadcasting live from SBU Newsroom Stony Brook. Good day, Seawolves. This is Risky Business, serving you with the hottest and the most leading news of the hour. Your news, our business. Today marks the 104th anniversary of the sinking of the Titanic, which is one of the deadliest disasters in history. But the question that still remains is Titanic an accident or a result of leadership gone wrong? To give you an update about this issue, here's our field correspondent and a professional Titanic historian, Michelle Nelson. Michelle, go.
I'm Michelle Nazaro, and my team number is 8, and I'm number 3 in the team. Titanic, a crucial matter of leadership gone wrong. Amazing and majestic, that's what they called Titanic. It was the biggest ship ever built. Every luxury you can imagine. The staterooms were big and spacious, and the outside decks were perfect for strolling and relaxing in the sunshine. It was April 10th, 1912, and Edward Smith, captain of the British vessel, was welcoming passengers onto the ship. Also aboard was the architect of the ship, Thomas Andrews. The boat contained beautiful cabins, and there were 1,300 people aboard, all comfortable and looking forward to the voyage to New York City. The ship had all the latest navigational tools, including a high-powered radio telegraph, so they could receive and send messages just in case there were icebergs or if they wanted to contact their friends and family at home. On they went. The ship was built with watertight compartments and were to stop the water from flooding the ship. The ship was called unsinkable. Well, as you will learn in this presentation, that nothing is unsinkable. At 11:35, a lookout spotted huge icebergs, and they turned the ship and hit it, and the hull was damaged. Within 3 hours, the ship had sunk. The unsinkable ship sunk. The Titanic went down and 1,500 people died. The people who did survive were rescued in the early morning by ships who were contacted by messenger. The team of the Titanic was chosen by us because it sends a message that sometimes, no matter how much you believe the team is in control, it is the leader who guides and oversees the team and who makes decisions that will direct the outcome of the project. In this case, the sinking of the Titanic and the loss of 1,517 passengers and 685 crew members. The staff of the Titanic was made up of diverse groups. There was deck crews and engineers and waiters and restaurant staffs. There was an orchestra who played at the last sinking. These groups worked independently towards a common goal. The Titanic had a very diverse team all working together and the best experience they could give to the passengers. Some washed the decks and served coffee and tea, and there was engineers and postal workers. There was only one captain, and he had absolute control. He gave orders and others followed, and he was the leader, and it was his responsibility to bring that ship safely to port.
My name is Lang Yuetian, and my number is 4. Alright, let me start the behavioral example number 1. So first, let's think about the question. Why did Titanic cost so many days? I mean, of course it was the iceberg, but really, it was iceberg? The direct reason was not the iceberg. Let's look at their data. 1,500 people died, and here we go. Even if they could have survived all of them, due to the number of the lifeboat space available, it's like only half of them can. So, the direct reason is the owner, iceman, shorted the lifeboats. I mean, why? Why they shorted the lifeboats and no one jumped out and said, this was ridiculous. You can't just do this, it will kill people. That's because all of them think the Titanic was unthinkable. Is it? No. They all think so. It's kind of groupthink, and the team goal setting of course. At the same time, cause the groupthink. How it happens? Just take a look at why they all think it's nothing. First, they all grew up of an illusion of the invulnerability. You know, because the Titanic was the newest, largest, and most advanced in the world at that time. All of them think, oh, that's good. So they came up with the idea of the invulnerability. It became over-optimistic. The second thing is that due to the information and alternative consequence, they could not have any other idea about it. It can go wrong. No, it can't. Because the design is command and the information is dynamic due to the information dynamics, and they didn't have more information to say the alternative consequence. Third is, the owner make the decision show the beliefs and calculations held by the design makers. It's not only the design, it's just like it's shaping people's view of the world. They actually think the concept is not really, and because and also the goal setting make them think it's unthinkable because it's effective goal. The owner is like, I want the money, but you wanted money, you need to make it safety. He didn't make a specific goal to make it safety, to make money. The goal, make money, can't be evaluated in everyday's work. Due to this, you can say the 3 people in their group, these things, they all seems like they are on duty, but actually they are not serving the same goal. The captain speed up to make more money. The awareness officer to take the passenger's messages first and ignore the iceberg warnings, because I think his first duty is to make these passengers feel better. And the lookout didn't really locate by binoculars because he also think it's unthinkable, and safety is not something he should count.
My name's Kiata Foster. I'm Team 8, number 2. Okay, I'll be doing the behavioral example number 2. How could the largest, most advanced ship of its time sink? You might think that it was due to the iceberg, but it was really due to failed leadership. A leader isn't just a position or a job title, or in this case, a captain of a ship. It's more of a ever-present person motivating, training, and preparing. Captain Edward James Smith was the captain of the Titanic. At 62, this was meant to be his last voyage. He had over 40 years of sailing experience. However, even though he received 5 ice warnings, he ignored them, thinking that everything was going to be okay. He didn't slow down, even knowing that there were going to be a lot of icebergs in the area. There are certain elements of leader mistakes that we should look at. An error must have been avoidable. Obviously, since Smith received ice and weather warnings, this could have been avoided. An error must come in the form of an action or an inaction. He did not properly supply the ship with enough life jackets for his travelers on board, and an error must result in an unintended or unpredicted events. And obviously, it was not the plan of Captain Smith for the Titanic to sink. There were definite errors in managing tasks and resources, such as with the lifeboats. Leadership's ineffective oversight really caused this disaster to be a lot worse than maybe it would have been. Smith's failure to imagine disaster made it impossible for him to prepare for it. He did not take a proactive approach in trying to figure out things that could have gone wrong, and because of that, when the Titanic hit the iceberg, he really had no idea what to do. There was really terrible communication on the Titanic. The Titanic was actually near 3 other ships that they could have alerted to that they needed help, and they did not. There was poor communication among the crew members of how to handle things once disaster had struck. Really, the idea here is to build better systems instead of just enough lifeboats. You really should figure out what the problem is from the start so that you can avoid anything going wrong. Expert team members really prepare for those kinds of situations, and they really need a leader to guide them. The science of persuasion, Smith utilized his position of authority to make his crew members believe that he really was leading them right in ignoring the ice warnings, and since they wanted to believe his great reputation, they listened and ignored things that they really should have paid more attention to. Some people may ask why the Titanic was so special. It was known as the Ship of Dreams because it was the largest ship ever built, almost 900 feet in length. Again, as mentioned before, it was considered to be unsinkable because of its unique hull design. And newspapers refer to it as the Millionaire Special because there were so many millionaires aboard, and it was a really lavish ship. Passengers expected to have every convenience they had at home, such as communicating with their friends and family and even doing business. There was a wireless room located aboard that had a telegraph going 24 hours a day. The telegraph room also received weather reports like the iceberg warnings. Since the Titanic was so different than anything that had ever been built, it really brings to light the benefits of teaming. When teams are needed to accomplish something that have never been done before, that's when teaming comes into play, because a traditional team structure just doesn't do it. It's not practical, but with teaming, it helps individuals acquire knowledge and skills and networks as they work so that they can learn and keep working at the same time.
Hi, my name is Denise Calabio, and I'm number 1. According to an article written by Harvard Business Review regarding Titanic, as you think about your business, think about the warning signs that you might have overlooked, and consider where the icebergs might be that you might not be able to see. So, our first recommendation for Captain Smith is to clarify and reinstate priorities, such as take warnings seriously and rank safety as a top priority. Captain Smith should ensure that the warnings from other boats should be the top priority of his wireless operators. The problem with Titanic is the wireless operators focus on transmitting crew and passenger messages instead of listening to the warnings. And as a captain, Smith should be able to be constantly aware about the potential threats such as icebergs, storms, trends, or submerged rocks that might cross their way. So, according to an article from Hunter and Cushenberry, having very few members in a team might lack the diversity and knowledge and experience that could create a creative and strong team. And Titanic clearly lacked a number of wireless operators. According to several sources, they only have two operators, which was Jack Phillips and Harold Bright. Now, the two of them are not working together because one is intended to relieve the other from the shift. So the tendency is they're overworked and they are doing several jobs and responsibilities at once. So what we recommend is for Captain Smith to hire more wireless operators in order to reduce the operator's workload and to assign a specific person to handle message warnings. Now, according to a study from
Hollenbeck, Deroux, and Guzzo.
consistently training employees is a good investment. So what we recommend is Captain Smith should train crew members on how to handle warnings and threats by initiating drills, rehearsals, and handling of lifeboats. Because according to several resources, the Titanic crew members struggled with handling the lifeboats. They were not prepared for the emergency evacuations. So having the crew in development will improve their expertise and knowledge. Another problem of the Titanic was their lacking of lifeboats and binoculars. So we recommend that Captain Smith should assign someone to oversee or supervise proper assets and materials, to track and maintain inventory. And lastly, according to an article, one of the main challenges of a team is encouraging members to argue without destroying their ability to work together. And one of the biggest problems of the Titanic crew and Captain Smith himself was groupthink. So in order to reduce groupthink, he should use participative leadership, which is he should approach crew members individually for their output, especially the ones who work below deck, because those are the ones who know the main engine problems and could provide him with solutions. Another part is he could decrease the excessive optimism about the group by dismissing the notion of unsinkable ship. This is the biggest problem of the group, is that they think that the Titanic is an unsinkable ship. In order to reduce this excessive optimism, they could assign a crew member as a devil's advocate, which is a person who expresses a contentious opinion. Now, this will allow them to evaluate all viewpoints and explore different alternatives and options, including conflicting ones. Now, there are several limits and weaknesses of our recommendations. The first one is hiring more employees or more wireless operators and training crew members costs a lot of money, so the expenses will increase and more capital is required. Another weakness is it's very time consuming to train crew members to enhance skills or knowledge.